So I want to turn this call over to a gentleman that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Now, this gentleman has his PhD in finance and economics, and I definitely want to turn this over to our one and only finance doctor, Dr. Craig Bythewood. Dr. Bythewood, are you on the line?
Absolutely. I am. Miss Tasha M. Dyer, the trade whisperer. Thank you very much for introducing me. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a talk with the finance doctor, your RX for Forex. For those of you who are new, those of you who are 111ers, let you know a little bit about the distinction between the way this call works versus all of our other expert educators. So every single one of our expert educators has a chart-based agenda. Therefore, the most efficient way for questions to be asked in that context is in the chat. But this call, however, is aptly named a talk with the finance doctor, and that preposition implies that this is a dialogue, this is a conversation. So please, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please unmute your microphone and ask your question. It is the inflection in your voice, it's the give and take, it's the conversational style of this conversation that puts us in a position of strength, because we understand the power of the collective consciousness, which simply means that if we're all here together energetically, that there are like-minded scenarios and situations in your head. So when you ask a question, you're helping people who A, had the same question, or people who B, didn't realize they had that question until you asked it. So please walk in the power of the unmuted microphone for a talk with the finance doctor. Another important administrative piece of this call is the fact that we operate in the strength of knowing that this is a very special place. Why? Because personal finance is the only area of our society where the only people who provide you with information about the personal financial products that we use happen to be the same individuals that sell you the product. And that creates a disincentive for you to get objective advice or for the material to be presented in an objective way. I've been saying this for almost 30 years. I am not anti-institution, I'm pro-household. So having a dialogue like this is always very beneficial and value added to every family, to every rectangle represented here. So welcome to a talk with the finance doctor. And before I get into whatever preset agenda I have, know that your questions always take precedent, but are there any questions, comments, or testimonies for a talk with the finance doctor? So for the benefit of you who are listening to this recording and did not hear the call prior to this one, the talk with the finance doctor prior to this one, 48 hours ago, we talked about the fact that Ms. Dyer has been saying for a long time that the best way for you to establish success is to have a relationship with the market. In fact, if you think about the last point she made, which was very, very poignant, it doesn't matter what you choose. Whatever you choose, you just make it work. Whatever you choose, you just are going to be consistent. Whatever you choose, you're just going to follow the strategy. So literally, it's a very personal situation. Someone asked earlier today on one of our profit calls, what broker do you recommend? And the answer was the same as it always is. It's personal. It's between you and you. It is something that you have to feel comfortable about. So all I'm saying is the same personable way in which you have to have a relationship with someone else. You know, you would never let somebody else tell you who you should date, because we all know that there are people on this call right now who have been told to date this person and you said, nah. There have been people who told you not to date that person and you said, and you did it anyway. So all I'm saying is that same type of personability in which we feel about relationships, we should be the same way with our trading, with our brokerage, with our style, with our currency pairs, with our favorites. So is it okay to be well-rounded in this environment? Of course, but you're going to gravitate to those that you feel comfortable with. That's just the way the human mind works. So I said all that to say this. This is a continuation of last Tuesday's talk with the finance doctor, because I will restate what I said on that call. And that is that in my past, when I used to teach personal finance for about 20 years, on college campuses, I would always notice that relationships would have such a large impact on the performance, the mood, and the mindset of the college student. So I began to make this correlation and make this point that the two most important things that we have to do in life are be in a relationship and manage our money, and we're not taught how to do either. So as a result of that, I'm going to continue this dialogue of how when you find a way to manage your relationships better, it's going to translate into the way in which you manage your trading, the mindset you're going to have in order to always be a master trader with all of your trades end in profit. So I'm going to start off by calling out Miss Robinson. Why are you calling out Miss Robinson? I'm actually not calling out Miss Robinson because what Miss Robinson said on Tuesday is very synonymous with the way most of us think. I'm just, as always, she's so vocal, she gives us an opportunity to really walk in the collective consciousness because she says the things that you all are thinking. She's saying the things that you all are going through. She's saying the things that reflect your experience. So this is not about Miss Robinson, but it's about Miss Robinson. Is Miss Robinson on the call? I should check that first. Miss Robinson, are you here? Because if you aren't, then I can just talk behind you.
Yes, I'm here. Don't talk about me like you know now.
I was about to gossip. Okay, so here's the point. And let me reiterate. She said it, but it's not about her. It's about us. And remember, I said a couple of talks with the finance doctors ago, there's a psychological concept that's called you spot it, you got it, which means we are more likely to notice things in other people because we do it ourselves, even if we are unaware. So this is what Ms. Robinson said. Ms. Robinson said, when I'm mad at somebody, I don't trade. When I'm mad at somebody, I don't trade. And I'm probably adding stuff. She really said, when I'm mad, I don't trade. But I'm just going to make it be the same because 19 times out of 10, if you and I have an issue, it's with another person. It's with another human. So bottom line is, she said, when I'm mad, I don't trade. So I would like to suggest, humans, that we take that concept and we really break it down, because at its core, on the surface, that's a really good plan. When I'm mad, I don't trade. That makes sense, because what Ms. Robinson was picking up on was the fact that we were all dialoguing about the fact that you have to have a mindset that is a vibrational match to you being a successful trader. And if you're mad about something, then that puts you in a position where your vibration is lower, your frequency is lower, and it's no longer in alignment. It's no longer an energetic match. Therefore, it could affect your outcome. But I want to go to the core of the statement, the core of the causal relationship between what Ms. Robinson said, which again represents all of us, not just her. She said, when I'm mad, I don't trade. Because I'm mad, I don't trade. Because I'm mad, I don't trade. What if we flipped it and said this? Because I trade, I won't get mad. Because I trade, I won't get mad. There's an African proverb that says, how does an ant eat an elephant? I'm sorry, wrong African proverb. There's an African proverb that says, he who angers you conquers you. He who angers you conquers you. If y'all are as competitive as me, I'm not finna, did he say finna with a tie on? I'm not finna let somebody conquer me. He who angers you conquers you. I remember reading a book, and this is a book I think everybody should have. It's by Louise Hay, and it's called You Can Heal Your Life. There are a couple people on this call that I've actually given that book to. You Can Heal Your Life is a classic book that talks about how you can use your thoughts to put yourself in the best position with every part of your life. And there's a chapter inside of You Can Heal Your Life, which is called You Can Heal Your Body. And it basically is a metaphysical look at all of the thought patterns that cause our sicknesses. Yes, sorry to let y'all know that a medical doctor is on the call, but every single sickness that we have is a direct result of our thoughts. Let me prove it. Let's break down the word. Disease, disease. Take it apart. Ease. I'm at ease. I feel good. I'm peaceful. But if I don't feel good, I'm at dis-ease. I'm at dis-ease. So whenever you are in a position where you're not feeling vibrationally right, when you're not feeling congruent with good feelings, then you're not going to be at ease. So the dis-ease is a result of not being at peace. I just said something, y'all. So bottom line is every single sickness that we have has a metaphysical cure. So what she does in this book is she breaks down the fact that if you look at the mental thought pattern as to why you're feeling what you're feeling, I guarantee you, get this book, Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, and look at the ailments that you have the most. And then when you look at the mental thought pattern, you'll be like, golly, that's so accurate. That's so accurate. So I said all that to say this. On the last page of the book, Louise Hay is talking about her mother, who was alive still at this time. Actually, Louise Hay just died last year. So thank you, Ms. Clayton. So at the last page of the book, Louise Hay says this. She says, my mother is still pushing my buttons and realizing that no one can get inside of your head and push your buttons. That means I still have some personal development to do. That's a powerful statement. It ain't mama that's the problem. It's the fact that I'm allowing my buttons to be pushed. It ain't mama that's the problem. The problem is I'm allowing my buttons to be pushed. So I say to everyone as we bring this congruence between having a relationship with the market and having the relationships with everybody else, because it's the same thing. How you do one thing is how you do all things. How you do one thing is how you do all things. So as we move into this congruence in this mindset to represent the fact that we want to be a match to this wealth and abundance that we have access to, I want to remix, I'm mad. Because I'm mad, I don't trade. Because I'm mad, I don't trade. We're going to change it to because I trade, I don't get mad. Because I trade, I don't get mad. Because think about it. What are you doing by allowing that person to get you mad? Yes, the author is Louise Hay, Hay, as in Hay House. The publisher, Hay House, is her. Louise Hay, Hay. Thank you for that, Miss Anderson. So bottom line is, we want to change it to because I trade, I won't get mad. Because I trade, I won't get mad. So if you go back to some of the techniques that we talked about on Tuesday's call, these are specific things that you can do in order to put yourself in a position of strength when you're dealing with relationships. I won't repeat them here, but I will encourage you, if you weren't there, to go watch the recording. So I would like to take a couple of relationship techniques and mirror them into what we're doing in our trading. So let me start with this one. I went to a relationship class about 20 years ago, and there was a relationship expert that talked about the 17-second kiss, the 17-second kiss. And what she said was this. She said, if you got beef with your partner, if you're not feeling your partner, if you have an issue with your partner, what's the first thing you stop doing? Kissing. You're not finna kiss nobody you got an attitude with. So what the relationship expert would say is every single day, kiss for 17 seconds. And then tomorrow, kiss for 17 seconds. And then the next day, kiss for 17 seconds. And watch what happens. The first time you do it, you pissed. You just don't, why my lip next to this attitudinal person, this jerk, right, to put my lips next to that person. And the next day, you're feeling the same way. And the next day, you're feeling the same way. But here's what happens. When you keep kissing for 17 seconds every single day, there's going to be a day. There's going to be a day when suddenly you realize you're glad that you're in a lip lock with that person. So the lie that you did on that first day suddenly became true because you kept doing it. I just said something. Every single time you type in the chat, I am a master trader. All of my trades end in profit. Some of you are thinking this a lie. Some of y'all are thinking, I don't want to have my lips on this. But if you keep doing it, if you do it every call, just like that 17-second kiss became something that the couple wants to do, it's the same thing will happen with you. It will come into form. When you decide to do something, when you take action, when you push the button, initially it will become form. So as we merge the world of relationships with trading, we need to understand that all we have to do is just keep saying it. All we have to do is just keep. And here's the deal. You don't even have to believe it. You don't have to think that first day, this is what's going to happen if I keep 17-second kissing. But if you keep doing it, eventually it will happen itself. And there were so many people who testified in that session that they did it. And they were talking about how long it took. One person was 12 days, one was 28 days. But the bottom line is in every single one of those cases, because they just showed up and did the exercise and kissed for 17 seconds every single day, eventually the feelings match the action. Ooh, did you hear what I said? Eventually the feelings match the action. So all you have to do, time out. There's somebody on this call right now who believes in the Be Your Own Bank movement, who wants to do this, but you're wondering, can you do it? But that same person that's on this call right now that's wondering, can you do it? Guess what? You've never typed your affirmation in the chat. Wow. You have never typed your affirmation in the chat. So you're asking for something to happen without you taking the action. So I did not, or the relationship expert did not break down the relationship goals, and they didn't break down the attributes of the person. They didn't have an arbitration and get into the issues or talk about their history or their past lives or their childhood. They didn't do any of that. All they did was say, take this action. Take this action. And it literally brought healing to the couple. So person who I'm talking to, because you try to look away like I don't see you. I see you. You have doubts about whether or not you can do this. You know it's real. You feel our energy, but you're doubting it, but you've yet to type it in the chat. So that's okay. I'm not here to attack you, but on Tuesday or Monday morning, type it in the chat. Type it in the chat, because just like that 17-second works, this works. I'm being led to pause. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or testimonies so far? Questions, comments, testimonies. So here's another thing I want you to look at. There is a psychological construct, BYOBers, that is called the attribution theory. So rather than explain the attribution theory, let me just tell you about it. You know what? I have to tell you this story, snatched from the headlines of my life. I went to Howard University for undergrad. I was there with Puff Daddy. I was there with the group Shy. I was there right before Taraji Henson got there. I can go on and on about the people who were there while I was there. That Craig Bythewood was there. That's not the point. The point is that when I was at Howard University, my favorite class, Kamala Harris, how could I diss her like that? Kamala Harris was there, pledged at the same time. Here's my point. My point is my favorite class at Howard University was psychology. And that is why I'm about to break you off some of that psychology that I learned. You know, if you love something, you're going to internalize it. It was my favorite class. How about my professor was a Caucasian woman with long brown hair, and she was just so nice, and she was an outstanding teacher. So watch this. Howard University, Washington, D.C., watch this. So years later, I teach a class at Florida Southern University in Lakeland, Florida. I'm from Tampa, Florida. The same school in which I taught all of those years of personal finance, in which I brought this relationship, personal finance correlation together. So I'm teaching a young man. In the first week of class, I'm asking, where are you from? So this guy said, how you doing? I'm from Silver Spring, Maryland. And I'm sorry, I'm from Silver Spring, Maryland. Welcome to the class. So then I tell my story and I say, I went to Howard University. He raised his hand and said, sir, my mom teaches in Florida, at Howard University. I said, really? What does she teach? Psychology. What's your last name again? Come on, y'all. My psychology professor's son was in my class in Lakeland, Florida. I said all that to say this. When you are walking down the street, hear me on this one, y'all. You're walking down the street and you see somebody trip. When you see somebody trip, you immediately think to yourself, oh, they goofy. Now watch what you just did. The person tripped and you decided that the reason why they tripped was because of something internal about them. You labeled that person goofy because they tripped. Now, you're walking down that same street and then you trip. The first thing you do when you trip is this. You look back to see what made you trip. Because obviously, if I tripped because of something external. Ooh, child. Y'all see what we just did there? Let me do it again. You see somebody else trip and you label them. They're tripping because they're goofy. But when you trip, something external, there must be a crack in the sidewalk. There must have been something on my shoe. Something made me trip. Ooh, I'm telling y'all something. So this is called attribution theory, which says this. You and I attribute what other people do to a quality about them. But we attribute what we do to something external, which made us do it. Ooh, y'all don't want to be real tonight? So let me do it again. We attribute things that other people do to some attribute or quality about them. They trip because they're goofy. I'm looking at the person. I'm looking at them. But when we trip, we attribute it to something external, which made us trip. So think about it. If all of us humans are doing that, and we're involved in conversations, and we're involved in relationships, and we're involved in interactions, doesn't that have a setup for a conflict? Because in an argument, you're telling them what they are. And then you're deflecting everything that they're doing. Okay, let's go deep. Y'all said y'all want to talk about relationships. I was just trying to talk about trading. Y'all brought this up. Now, there's a ping pong theory that I often talk about when I'm counseling people. A ping pong theory. Here's how it works. You're playing ping pong, right? Actually, you're not playing ping pong. You have a message. So you take your message. This is your expression of truth. This is what you would like to communicate to someone. And you write that message on a ping pong ball. Okay, so now that you have the message on the ping pong ball, here's what you do. You throw it to the person on the other side of the ping pong table. Now, what is supposed to happen is the person is supposed to catch the ping pong ball, look at the message and say, oh yeah, this is what you're trying to communicate to me. This is what you're expressing to me. This is your point. But what we do instead is we pick up our defensive paddle. And then when the ball comes, bloop, 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 we hit it back. So you got all these people all day hitting these messages back. Bloop, bloop, and nobody taking the time to see what the message is. Because all you want to do is hit it back. Why? Because you attribute everything that happens to somebody else by what's wrong with them internally. What's wrong with them internally. But everything that happens to you is because of something that happened externally. So if you could just walk away with this one truth, if you would just walk away with this one concept, you could tonight begin to have a different mindset. Tonight, you could be able to have different experiences. Because right now, you're literally having conflict because you just won't take the time to just catch the ball and look at the message. You just won't make a shift and just realize that there's nothing wrong with them. You're just a vibrational match for the conflict. You're a vibrational match for the issue. So instead of constantly defending and constantly saying it's them, it's something external, you made me do this, you made me mad, all you have to do is simply catch the ping pong ball, realize attribution theory, and understand where the other person is coming from. I don't care who they are, I don't care what they did, just look at it from another person's perspective. Pausing on purpose. Questions, comments, testimonies about what I've said thus far. Now, what does this have to do with my trading? It has everything to do with your trading. Because I used to say, because I'm mad, I won't trade. But if we can implement these processes into the way in which we look at people, I can say, because I trade, I don't have time to get mad. Because I trade, I have to make sure that I'm always at a high vibration. So what if, instead of thinking that somebody else is making you feel what you're feeling, why don't you own it? Why don't you just be accountable? And this is the beautiful thing about this point. This point that I'm making to you right now, it applies to everybody in every situation. It applies to everybody in every situation. Now, one of the things that I used to do for a living, when I let institutions put a value on me, when I let institutions tell me what I had to do and when I had to do it, then I was in a position where I had to write a lot of exams. And when I would write exams, there was always this one response in a multiple choice test that students used to hate. And that was the response that said all of the above, all of the above. But I found that in life, it's always all of the above. It's never either or. It's always all of the above. So what I'm saying to you is that you can put yourself in a position of strength by realizing that every single situation, not some situations, not most situations, not, well, unless they do this, well, unless they talk about my mama, or well, unless they cross my children. That's not how it works. You do this in every single situation, and you put yourself in a position where you, thank you, Ms. Anderson, vibrate high always. And when you vibrate high always, you put yourself in a position of peaceful interactions, peaceful interactions, peaceful interactions. I had a conversation with a family member earlier this week, and I was explaining to her that some of the energy she had toward the person she was dating wasn't very positive. And she responded with everything I said with, but he. I've always told my daughters, I have 3 teenage daughters, everybody. And I've been saying this to them since they were 2, 3, and 5. And that is the 2 most dangerous words in personal development, the 2 most dangerous words in peaceful exchanges, the 2 most dangerous words in high vibration are, but she did this, but she said that, but he did this, but he did that. So I made the comment to her that she needed to be a role model for her child. And she got an attitude with me because she thought I was talking about, the number of men and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't my point at all. My point was very simple. What if we could show children what it's like to see peaceful exchanges between men and women? What if we could show children what it's like to have peaceful exchanges between business partners? What if we could show children what it's like to have peaceful exchanges between everybody? How you treat the waiter, how you treat the person at the store, how you treat the person that cuts you off. Because when you were late to where you had to go and it was important, you cut somebody off. But you wanted them to understand, oh, I'm sorry, I got somewhere to go. But then when they do it to you, you want to get mad. And you want to show your child how you respond to stuff. So my point is just simply this. We can start doing this right now. And we can send a message to our children that because I trade, I have to be peaceful. Because I trade, I have to be peaceful. I'm not peaceful right now, so I'm not going to trade. Because I trade, I have to be peaceful. And if we recognize that all we have to do is take some of these perspectives that I'm dropping on you, take some of these techniques I'm dropping on you, and use them. And I understand this. It's so easy to talk about this on a rectangle when nothing's happening. I get it. The most challenging time to implement these concepts is in the moment. In the moment. What do you do when it's going down right now? I get it. I get it. But I also know this. We have access to a strategy that can change our lives. We have access to a skill set that can cause generational wealth. We have access to an opportunity to change communities, change worlds, change nations. So are we really going to let the continued pattern of looking at things the same way and acting like conflict has to exist? It doesn't. Instead of trying to check somebody and have a low vibration to check them, just raise your vibration so there's nothing to check. Say it again. Okay. Instead of trying to check somebody, which requires a low vibration, just vibrate high, and then there's nothing to check. The moment that you realize you got an issue with somebody, you're the issue. Ooh, say that again too. Okay. The moment you realize that you got an issue with somebody, you got the issue. Why? Because it takes a low vibration to have an issue with someone. So I hope that these concepts are sinking in, because all of us can put ourselves in a better position of peaceful exchanges with people, and therefore bring that peaceful mindset to our computers and our cell phones, to our MetaTrader 4, to whatever it is we're doing, and put ourselves in a better position to walk out the affirmation and be the signal and be 777 and be a master trader, because all of my trades end in profit, because all of my relationships are in peace. All of my trades are in profit because all of my relationships are in peace. All of my trades are in profit because all of my relationships are in peace. Thank you, Ms. Robinson, for giving me this idea. Questions, comments, testimony?
You're welcome. Thank you for that breakdown.
You're welcome. This has been a talk with the finance doctor. Questions, comments, testimonies? Thank you for that, Mr. Jones. One more time. Any questions, any comments, any testimonies?
No. Yeah, he should be.
Dr. B.
Yes. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Brownlee.
Can you hear me?
Something's going on with your mic, ma'am. I don't hear you.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Now I can. Excellent.
Okay. I just want to thank you for this mighty, mighty message that came forth in power and demonstration. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you saying that. I really do. Any other questions, comments, or testimonies? All right. Any final comments from either one of my business partners? So what we will do is we will close this call in prayer, because what a great way to seal all of this great information that is basic. You know, we used to say it, WWJD, what would Jesus do? He would operate in peace. And that's all we're talking about here. So Heavenly Father, we ask you to please bless this conversation. Please bless all of the present and future interactions of everybody that's under the sound of my voice. Bless the families of these rectangles. Bless the people who are listening to this recording in the year 4000 and 5000. Allow them to put themselves in a position of implementing these strategies, implementing these mindsets, so that they can have better experiences. It is time for us, God, to release this belief that there has to be conflict, that we have to find things we don't like. It's just as easy for us to find things we like as it is to find things we don't like. Help us to make that choice. Heavenly Father, we are thankful, we are appreciative, and we are grateful. Thank all of you for a great week. This really has been a very productive week. I love the motivation. I love what everybody's doing. Thank you for all our new educators. Y'all really hit home runs this week and last week. So this will officially end this call. Have a great weekend.